Hello, welcome to Designing the Flow, creating a lesson flow to meet the needs of all learners. I am Kathy Griffin and I will be your presenter for today. Let's get started by telling me, what's your equation? This is an activity that helps us get to know each other. What is your equation that makes you, you? Think about it for a minute, then create a math equation that can be used to introduce yourself to our community. An example would be the square root symbol times with the fourth child times 10 seniors underneath divided by a niece and two nephews plus an 8-year-old BFF minus 24 hours. That is Kathy in a nutshell. Take a minute to write your equation of something that represents you, then share it with a neighbor. Our objectives for today are to discuss the pyramid of learning, identify Gange's 9 events of instruction, implement Gange's 9 events of instruction, and discuss future professional development needs. Take a moment to look at our pyramid of learning. Why is having a daily plan of instruction important? Take a few minutes to look at this pyramid and really think about the information that it represents. When most of us were in high school, or sorry, in school, period, high school, elementary school, middle school, even college, our professors either were auditory instructors, they talked a lot and they just gave us information where we had to listen, or they provided visual stimulation in some form or fashion, or kinesthetic, they gave us hands-on things to do. Over time, that pyramid has expanded to utilize all of the different strategies that instructors use in order to get content across to our students. 5% of the content that we present through lectures are remembered by our students. 10% of that content comes from our students reading different things. 20% of the content that students remember comes from us showing audio-visual type, using audio-visual type activities in our lessons. 30% of things remembered by our students come from us doing demonstrations or having our students do demonstrations. 50% of the things that our students remember comes from us having discussions. 75% comes from students actually practicing and doing something. But the most instructional strategy that helps our students to remember our content and really truly lock it inside their brain comes from teaching others. Us having them teach something to other students in our classrooms or other students in our community, or even having them teach information to their family members. This is the most active way that we engage our students for remembrance and learning. Today we're going to discuss Gange's 9 events of instruction. It's an instructional design plan that can be used on a daily basis to ensure that we are doing what is necessary to help our students master our content. Before you present the instruction, we have to get ready to rumble. First, you gain the attention of students. As soon as your learning experience begins, boom, you must capture your learner's attention. You can do this by playing music, by playing a humorous video clip, by showing a cartoon, by doing anything that captures the attention of your student. Next, we want to inform learners of the objectives. Tell them what they are going to learn. Provide expectations around what they will learn helps put your audience in a learning mindset. Third, we want to stimulate recall of prior learning. In this step, the goal is to activate the recall of that old knowledge. Once the old knowledge is recalled or remembered, it makes it easier to connect the dots to new information. Now, once we've done those three things, now it's time for us to present the instruction. This is where our aha moments come to play. First, you want to present content. Use strategies to present and cue lesson content to provide more effective instruction. Organize and group your content in meaningful ways and provide explanations after demonstrations. You want to make sure you also use various modalities of instructional strategies to make sure that you're meeting the needs of all of your learners. Now we want to provide learning guidance. Advise students of strategies to aid them in learning content and of resources available. In other words, help students learn how to learn. This is where you give them step-by-step guides on how to create something, or you give them graphic organizers that help them outline a plan for completing a task. Number 6, we want to elicit performance practice. Have students apply what they've learned to reinforce new skills and knowledge and to confirm correct understanding of course contents. Practice, practice, practice. After you present the instruction, now you want to get to where you provide feedback to your students on how well they have done in their assignment. You want to provide timely feedback of students' performance to assess and facilitate learning and to allow students to identify gaps in their understanding. At this stage, you can provide a rubric to guide students to make sure that they've completed all parts of a project. But you also want to provide feedback that helps students go back and make corrections to the work that they've done. You want to assess students. Assess performance. Test whether the expected learning outcomes have been achieved on previously stated course objectives. You can do this with informal type activities where you go around and as students are working in their group or working on their assignments, you ask them questions, or you can have the students do presentations, or you can do it the old way, give a quiz, give a test, any type of data that helps you know whether or not the student understood the content, mastered the content, as well as inform you of what you need to do next to help them to better understand what you've taught them. And last but not least, the 9th stage of Gange's 9 events of instruction is enhance retention and transfer. Help learners retain more information by providing them opportunities to connect course concepts to potential real-world applications. Show them what they can do with what you've taught them, and show them what's coming up next and help them make the connection to retain what you've taught them up to this point. Now, let's engage ourselves. Let's identify the Gange's event of instruction that corresponds with each statement. Let's take a moment and read the statement. Once you've read the statement, identify Gange's 9 events of instruction that corresponds with the statement. Students take a quiz on Gange's 9 elements of instruction. Which of the 9 elements would this represent? Number 8, assess performance. What keyword told us this? Our students take a quiz. Quizzes are used for assessment purposes, whether you have them do a verbal quiz, whether you have them do a paper pencil quiz. This is assessing their performance. Students reviewed the different learning styles. Which one of Gange's 9 events of instruction does this align with? Number 3, simulate recall. When they review the different learning styles, you're going over something that the students have learned in previous classes or previous situations. And that way we are simulating recall so that we can connect their new learning to their old learning to their new learning. Create an exam. Look at a video on a Blackboard tutorial. Which one of Gagne's 9 events of instruction does this imply? Number 4, deliver content. When you're showing a video to create something or showing them how to do something, this is your content. This is you delivering the content that they will be using throughout the course or today or throughout the lesson for today. Now is your turn. In groups of 3 to 5, you're going to match the activity with one of Gagne's 9 events of instructions. You will have 3 minutes to discuss with your group members, then assign the statement to an event. At this time, I would suggest you pause the video, take a look at the activity, and see if you can identify which of the statements align with the 9 events of instruction. Now, let's recap. I want 3 things that you've learned today, 2 strategies you plan to implement in your classroom from today's lesson, and 1 instructional practice that you would like to learn more about. Are there any questions? What's next? From this moment forward, we are going to expand on each of the 9 elements of Gagne's 9 events of Gagne's 9 events of instruction. So we can create lessons or have a daily lesson flow that meets the needs of all of our students. As always, we have references that were used to create the PowerPoint.